A poor man was married to a beautiful woman. The man and his wife never quarreled. The husband loved his wife. The wife loved her husband. They were very happy. But this happy couple had a rich, handsome neighbor. He saw the poor man's beautiful wife, and he fell in love with her. I want to marry her myself, he thought, every day. When the woman's husband was working in the fields, the rich man went to the poor man's house. "You're a beautiful woman," he said to the poor man's wife. "But your clothes are old. Why doesn't your husband buy new, pretty clothes for you? I'm sure he doesn't love you. If he loved you, he would buy wonderful clothes for you. Divorce him and marry me. I will buy you beautiful new clothes, the best in the land. Then you will be the most beautiful woman in Ethiopia." At first, the woman didn't listen to the rich man. But he came to her house every day, and every day he said the same things. At last, she began to think, perhaps my neighbor is right. Why doesn't my husband buy beautiful new clothes for me? Perhaps he doesn't love me. That night, she said to her husband, "Look at me, husband. My clothes are old and ugly. I want new ones. Buy me some new clothes." Her husband smiled at her. "You don't need new clothes," he said. "You are the most beautiful woman in the world to me." She was angry. "Don't you love me?" she said. "If you love me, buy me a new dress." Her husband loved his wife, and he wanted to please her. "I have only a little money," he thought, "and I need a new plow. But I want my dear wife to be happy." So the next day he went to the market and he bought a new dress for his wife. He took it home to her and she put it on. "Thank you, my dear husband," she cried. "Now I know that you love me." When the rich man came to see her again, she was wearing her new dress. "You see," she said to him, "my husband loves me very much. He bought me this beautiful new dress." The rich man shook his head. "But a good husband doesn't only give his wife new clothes," he said. "He gives her gold. Where's your gold necklace? Where are your gold rings? Why doesn't your husband give you those?" He opened a box and showed her some beautiful gold jewelry. "Look at these," he said. "Divorce your husband and marry me, and I will give all these to you." The woman did not listen to him. "Go away," she said. "I love my husband and he loves me, and we are happy together." But the rich man came again every day, and every day he showed her the box of jewelry. At last she began to think, perhaps the rich man is right. Why doesn't my husband buy gold for me? Doesn't he love me? That day she didn't make a fire. She didn't cook a meal. Her husband came home late, after a long day in the fields. He was tired and hungry. "There's no dinner for you tonight," his wife said. "You don't love me." "What?" her husband cried. "But my darling, I love you more than anything. You are the most wonderful person in the world." "Then why don't you buy me some gold jewelry?" she said. "When a man loves his wife, he gives her a gold necklace and rings for her fingers." Her husband looked worried. "I spent money on her new clothes," he thought. "How can I find more for gold?" I'll go and see my brother. Perhaps he will lend me the money. I must buy gold for my dear wife. I want her to be happy." The next day he went to visit his brother. "Lend me some money, brother," he said, "and I will work for you in your field." "All right," his brother said, "but you must work hard. There are many stones in my field, and you must move them all away." Her husband agreed and took the money. He went to the market and bought some gold jewelry. Then he took it home to his wife. His wife was very happy. She put the necklace round her neck and put the rings on her fingers. "Look at me," she said. "Am I not beautiful?" "You're very beautiful," her husband said. "If you are happy, am happy." She put her arms round his neck. Thank you, my dear husband," she said. "Now I know that you love me." The next day her husband went out very early, before the sun rose in the sky. He ran to his brother's field. It was covered with stones. "I must work very hard now," he thought. "I must start early and stop late. L must pay my debt to my brother." His wife was working happily at home. "I'd make a wonderful dinner for my husband tonight," she thought. "He gives me wonderful presents. He works hard for me. I know that he loves me." "Hello?" a voice called out. "Are you there?" The woman went outside. Her rich neighbor was there. "Ah, it's you," the woman said. "Listen, neighbor, you were wrong about my husband. Yesterday he bought me this beautiful jewelry. He loves me very much and I love him. I will not divorce him. I will not marry you." The rich man was worried. Her husband loves her too much, he thought. If I want her, I must be clever. At last he said, "Your husband gave you clothes and jewelry, but I can give you more than that." "What? What do you mean?" the woman cried. "Can your husband make miracles?" the rich man asked. "Miracles?" "No, of course he can't make miracles," the woman answered. "Only God can make miracles. Men cannot make them, but I can." The man said, "Because I love you. Love can make miracles. If your husband loves you, he can make miracles for you. If you love me, I will make miracles for you." "Make a miracle for me now," the woman said. "I can't," the rich man answered. "You must promise to love me first. You must leave your husband and come to me. Then I will make wonderful, wonderful miracles for you." The woman said nothing, and the rich man went away. That night, the poor man came home late. He was very tired and hungry. His wife brought water for him, and he washed himself. She brought delicious food for him, and he ate it. "My poor husband," she thought. "He works so hard for me, and he is so tired and hungry. The rich man is foolish. How can my husband make miracles? It's impossible." But the next day, and the day after, and the day after that, the rich man came to her house again. "Did your husband make a miracle for you yesterday?" he asked the woman. "Leave him, and love me, and I will make many, many miracles for you every day." At last, the woman began to listen to him. One day, when her husband came home, she was sad. "Wife, dear wife, what is wrong with you? cried her husband. "Are you sick?" "No," she said. "I'm sad because you do not love me." "What?" cried her husband. "But you know that I love you. I bought you new clothes. I bought you gold jewelry. You're the most precious thing in the world to me." "But you don't make miracles for me," his wife said. Her poor husband was very surprised. "Miracles? Of course I can't make miracles," he said. "Why do you want a miracle? Who gave you the idea?" "Our neighbor came to see me today," the woman said. "Love makes miracles," he said. "If a man loves a woman, he will make miracles for her." Her husband was very worried. "That wicked man wants to take my wife," he thought. "All this trouble comes from him. When he first came here, she wanted new clothes. Then she wanted gold jewelry. And now she wants a miracle. What can I do? If I don't make a miracle, perhaps my wife will leave me and marry him." The next day he went slowly to work in his brother's field. "I must pray," he thought. "Only God can help me now." He looked up to heaven. "Oh, Lord God," he prayed, "please help me to make a miracle. I love my wife and I want to keep her. Don't let this rich man take her from me." He worked all morning. He was moving stones from his brother's field. In the middle of the day, he sat down under a tree to rest. A man was sitting there already. "Who are you?" the poor man asked. "I am a wizard," answered the man, "and I have a gift for you. Look, here are 2 sticks. They make miracles." "Miracles?" the poor man said. He was happy now. "What kind of miracles?" "If you touch person with the first stick, the wizard said he will become a donkey." The poor man thought of the rich man, and he smiled. "A donkey?" he said. "That's very good. And if I touch him with the second stick, what will happen?" "He will become a man again," said the wizard. The poor man took the sticks and jumped up. "Oh, thank you, my friend," he said. "I prayed to God and he sent you to me. Now I can keep my wife and punish my enemy." He ran home. "Wife," he called out, "come here. I'm going to make a miracle." His wife came out of the house. "A miracle?" she said. "What miracle?" "Look," said her husband. He touched her with the first stick. At once she became a donkey. She lifted her head and tried to speak, but she could not. He ha was all she could say. Her husband touched her with the other stick. At once she became a woman again. "Husband, that's wonderful," she said. "It's a real miracle. How did you do it?" "I prayed to God," her husband said, "and he helped me. And now, wife, I am going to punish my enemy." "Your enemy?" said his wife. "Who is that?" "You know my enemy," her husband said. He was looking at her. He wasn't smiling now. "It's the rich man, our neighbor. He comes to our house when I am working in the fields. He gives you bad ideas. Ask your husband for new clothes, he says. Ask him for gold jewelry. Ask him for a miracle. Am I right? Did our rich neighbor give you all these ideas?" His wife said nothing. "And did you listen to him?" her husband went on. His wife did not look at him. She was ashamed. "I'm sorry," she said. It's true, he said all those things. He wanted me to divorce you and marry him, and I listened to him. And do you want to divorce me and marry him? Her husband asked. She looked at him. Her eyes were full of tears. No. Dear husband, I want to stay with you forever, and I will never listen to him again. Then take this stick, her husband said, and touch the rich man with it. He gave his wife the first stick, but he hid the second one in the roof. The next day he went to work. Soon the rich man arrived at the woman's house. Well, he asked her, and can your husband make miracles yet? Yes, she said, and she touched him with the first stick. At once, the rich man changed into a donkey. Now, said the woman, you can go to work and help my dear husband. She took the donkey out to the fields. Her husband was working there. He was moving stones from his brother's field. Ah, he said, a donkey. Now I can finish the job quickly. From that day, the poor man gave the donkey many heavy loads to carry. The donkey carried stones away from the fields. It took sacks of teff to the market, and it brought flour and coffee home again. For many years, the donkey worked for the poor man. The poor man was not so poor now. The donkey was helping him. He was becoming richer. One day, the poor man looked at the donkey. It was tired and old. It stood still. Its head was bent down. The poor man was sorry for it. He went into his house and brought out the second stick. Then he touched the donkey with it. At once, the rich man stood there. But he was not a handsome young man now. He was old. His back was bent. He was very, very tired. You tried to take my wife away from me, the poor man said. That was wrong. Go home now. Don't look at other men's wives again. The rich man went away, and he never came back again. But the poor man and his wife lived happily together for many more years.
Most people got their tattoos on their 18th birthday. It was what you did. People booked their appointments months in advance at the best tattoo parlors in town. You didn't want to find that they had no more appointments left. May was a very busy month because most people had their birthdays in May, so it was very hard to get an appointment then. Sometimes people got angry at the people who worked at the tattoo parlor, or they paid hundreds of pounds just to get an appointment. Gary wasn't like most people. He didn't want a tattoo. His parents, his friends, and his girlfriend all told him that he would want a tattoo one day, like everyone else. I know you think you don't want it, said Gary's girlfriend Claire, but just think. When you turn 18, most of your friends will have their tattoos already. People will want to see yours. Look, you can tell them that you're getting it later, that you couldn't book an appointment, but how long can you lie? One day, you'll look around and think, God, why don't I have a tattoo? Everyone else does. But why do I need one? Said Gary. Everyone else has one, yes, but I don't want one. But Gary, said Claire, you're always like this. You think that, because you have to do it, that it's something bad. You were like this when you learned to drive as well. Think of it like this. getting a tattoo is a way to tell the world about yourself. It's a way to say, this is me, this is who I am, this is what I want, and I can't wait to see what you choose. Gary sighed and started talking about something else. That was the other thing, the thing that Gary couldn't talk to anyone about. He didn't think it mattered. Why did you need a tattoo to tell the world about yourself? Why couldn't you just be yourself, dress how you wanted, talk how you wanted, and so on? People know who you are just by talking to you, don't they? But no, the tattoo was important. What you chose for your tattoo said, what you thought, what you liked, who you were. Some people got tattoos of their pets, or strong animals like lions, or stars, or moons, or whatever. Some people got words in foreign languages. Some people got simple shapes. Actually, Gary didn't know what he would get. For several years, when he thought about getting a tattoo, he felt anxious. He knew who he was, but he couldn't take Gary and put him in a picture. He was more than that, more than just a few words or a shape. People thought it was bad to tell other people what your tattoo was going to be. Of course, many people did talk about it. Gary's friends had told him what tattoos they wanted, but they were sure. They knew what they wanted. So when they asked Gary what he wanted, he told them he knew, but he didn't want to tell them. One day, his mum found out that he was anxious about his tattoo. She told him it was normal, that many people get anxious. So just get it in a hidden place. Get it on your bum if you need to. Mum, but it was true. Most people got their tattoo on their arm or leg so they could show it to people. Some people really wanted the world to know who they were, so they got their tattoo on their head or their hand. Some people wanted to keep it hidden, so they got it on their back or the bottom of their foot, or yes, their bum. But those people often got treated badly. These days, it wasn't cool to get a hidden tattoo. The day after your 18th birthday, everyone wanted to see it, so if it was hidden, they sometimes took your clothes off and took a picture anyway. Gary did not want that. Gary knew that there were some people who didn't get tattoos. One of his uncles was like that, but he had never met him. His family didn't like to talk about him either. Gary didn't understand why. Why were people who didn't get tattoos treated differently? They were seen as strange. People said they were like children because children didn't have tattoos. They often couldn't get jobs because their boss wanted to know who they were, who they really were. And if someone didn't have a tattoo, they were hiding something, weren't they? So Gary knew that one day he would probably have to get a tattoo. He could keep saying no, but one day he would have to. On the day of his 18th birthday, his parents took him to the tattoo parlor. Of course they did. They had booked an appointment months in advance without telling him. Gary didn't want to go. He said he wanted to go and see his friends. But his parents had booked the appointment for 10 a.m. and they couldn't change it. When Gary got there, he went into a room with the tattoo artist. The tattoo artist was a woman who was maybe 40 or 50. She had lots of tattoos, of course. All tattoo artists did. They were the only people who could get more than one tattoo. Well, other people could, but they were treated as strange. Wasn't one enough? Gary was surprised that the tattoo artist was a woman. Usually, men got tattoos from other men, and women got tattoos from other women, but his parents had probably chosen a woman because it might make him feel less anxious. Or maybe it was the only appointment they could get. Anyway, she was very friendly. She gave him a cup of tea and asked what things he liked, what his hobbies were, if he had any pets or people he really loved. His parents must have told her he was anxious about it. It made it worse. Gary did have lots of things he loved, of course, but none of them were so special. None of them were so great that he wanted them tattooed on his body. And where would he get it? He didn't want one where everyone could see it, but he didn't want to be treated badly by the guys at school. And then Gary had an idea. Can I get a tattoo on my head? The tattoo artist looked very surprised. Well, yes, you can. But you have a lot of hair. Nobody will be able to see it. And I can't tattoo you until you get your hair cut. Gary stood up. Could you wait while I go to the barber then? The tattoo artist sighed and checked her watch. All right, but be quick. Gary ran out. His parents were waiting outside the room, and they were surprised to see him. Don't have time to explain, he said. I'm going to the barber. His parents probably thought he was going to get a tattoo on the side of his head. That was a popular fashion. Yes, it meant you had to cut your hair short, but it looked really cool. But Gary didn't want that. He told the barber he wanted him to shave all his hair off. The man was very surprised. But you're so young. You have wonderful hair. Do you really want to go bald? Yes, and I don't have much time. So the barber shaved all his hair off, and Gary was bald. He looked very strange. He said, "Thank you," paid the barber, and then ran back to the tattoo artist. "Oh my God," said his mother when she saw him. But she didn't have time to say anything else because he was already back in the room with the tattoo artist. "I'm ready," he said, panting, "and I know what I want." Nobody liked Gary's tattoo. Firstly, it wasn't original. Everyone wanted an original tattoo, and Gary's was just a simple X shape. Lots of people had those, but they usually got something with the X to make it more original, but not Gary. He just had a big X shape. Of course, the place he got the tattoo was very original. Too original. His friends all thought it was funny. They said that only Gary would get a tattoo on the top of his head, so it was perfect for him. But his parents hated it, and his girlfriend Claire really hated it. So weeks passed. Gary's hair started to grow again. His friends stopped laughing about his tattoo, and life started being normal again. But then the question started. "When are you going to get a real one?" asked his dad. "I mean, that was a funny joke, Gary, but you need a real tattoo. You can't go bald every time you want to show it to someone." Gary couldn't believe it. He had done the thing that everyone wanted. hadn't he? So why was it a problem? But his dad wasn't the only one. Claire asked him to get a new tattoo every day. She drew pictures for him, texted him ideas. Finally, it was too much for him, and he stopped seeing her. Gary didn't get a new tattoo, of course. The first one had hurt, and it cost a lot of money. Yes, his parents had paid for it, but he hated that they paid for something he didn't want. And really, he didn't like the tattoo he'd gotten. It was fun to make everyone laugh, but it really didn't look good. Gary's hair grew, and soon you couldn't see the tattoo at all. He was happy with this, and he didn't feel anxious anymore. He could forget that it was there. But of course, this just made everyone else angry. Fine, Gary had gotten a bad tattoo, but now he was hiding it from the world. You can't get a tattoo there and then cover it with hair, said his mother. You should shave off all your hair again, or get a new tattoo. No, said Gary. I won't do it. I got the tattoo, okay? You should be happy now. I don't have to be like everyone else. Gary went to university, and there he had more problems. Everyone showed each other their tattoos. It was a great way to make friends, because you could talk about why you got your tattoo like that. And when someone had a hidden tattoo, everyone wanted to know where it was and what it was. Gary told nobody where his tattoo was. Several girls tried to sleep with him because they thought he might have it on his bum. When people found out where it really was, they were not happy. Some boys from the football team went into his room at night and shaved all his hair off. The next day, everyone saw his tattoo and laughed at him. What a bad tattoo, they said. It would be better to have none. Until then, Gary had been thinking about getting another tattoo. It was just too hard with his X-shaped one. But now he knew that he would never get one. This was who he was. And he found out that there was a word for it. Tatless. Tatless people were people who couldn't get tattoos or didn't want tattoos. Some tatless people had tattoos, but they removed them or they never showed them to people. Finally, Gary met other tatless people. He was very anxious, but when he met them, he knew that they were his people. They understood what it was like to be treated so badly. They understood why he didn't want a tattoo, and they thought he was great for the tattoo he got. Gary liked one of the tatless guys very much, and they became boyfriends. They had to keep their love hidden, of course. If Gary's parents knew he had a tatless boyfriend, they wouldn't be happy. Many times, Gary's boyfriend, Kyle, said, "You know, you could get that tattoo removed. I know it's hidden, but it's so much better when it's removed." When mine was removed, I felt amazing, and it's very safe. I have a friend who does it. But Gary said no. It's hidden. That's enough. If I can't see it, it doesn't matter. Gary and Kyle stayed together over the years. When Gary grew older, he started going bald. He'd been worrying about this. Now his tattoo wouldn't be hidden, and he would have to remember everything that had happened. He hadn't talked to his parents in years, and he didn't want to remember the day he got that tattoo, so he decided to get it removed.